You've been taught that successful trading requires more strategy, more indicators, more market analysis. That if you just find the right system, you'll finally be consistent. But here's what nobody tells you. The best traders aren't thinking about 10 setups at once. They're not analyzing 20 charts simultaneously. They're present for one trade at a time. In 1615, a samurai master asked his student, "If you face 10 enemies, how many can you kill?" The answer shocked him. None. Because the moment you think about 10 enemies, you've already lost to the first. This same principle explains why you're profitable on your demo account but lose on live trades, why your back-tested strategy fails in real time, why you know what to do but can't execute. Your mind is everywhere except here. Modern neuroscience has now proven what these warriors discovered 4 centuries ago. Presence isn't just mental discipline, it's a trainable skill that physically changes your brain structure. By the end of this video, you'll understand the exact practice that transforms anxious, overthinking traders into calm, decisive executors. Not through more knowledge, but through the one skill every winning trader masters: being completely present for the trade in front of you. Welcome to Trader's Bible, the quiet room for market mastery. Let's get into it. The samurai student stood before his master, confidence radiating from every fiber of his being. 10 enemies? All of them, master. I'll defeat all 10. The old warrior's response cut through that confidence like a blade through silk. Wrong. You will kill none. Because the moment you think about killing 10, you've already lost to the first. This isn't ancient philosophy. This is your trading account right now. You open your platform Monday morning with a weekly profit target of $2,000. You've calculated it perfectly. 4 trades, 500 each, 70% win rate. You'll hit your number by Thursday. Except you won't. Because while you're thinking about $2,000, the market just gave you a reversal signal at resistance, and you missed it. While you're calculating how trade number 3 will get you closer to your goal, you're holding a losing position past your stop, because cutting it means you'll need an extra trade to hit your target. You're fighting 10 enemies. The market is only asking you to face one, this candle right now. Here's what actually happens in your brain when you trade with a profit target active. Your default mode network, the part of your brain responsible for future planning and self-referential thinking, dominates your attention. You're literally watching 2 screens, the chart in front of you and the mental projection of your bank account at the end of the week. Modern eye-tracking studies on traders show that struggling traders glance at their P&L panel every 18 seconds on average. Profitable traders, every 4 minutes. The difference isn't discipline. It's understanding that the profit isn't the trade. The trade is the trade. Delete your P&L column. Not minimize it. Delete it. You already know your risk before you enter. You already know your target. The number changing in real time serves one purpose: pulling your attention away from the only enemy that matters, the price action forming right now. When Tishi faced his final examination, he wasn't thinking about becoming a samurai. He wasn't thinking about impressing the watching masters. He was present with his master's sword, the distance between them, the wind direction, his own breathing. One enemy, complete attention. But here's where it gets more interesting. Tishi had spent 5 years perfecting his technique. His sword forms were flawless. His strikes were precise, fast, technically perfect. Yet he couldn't pass a simple sparring session without his hands shaking and his breathing collapsing. The other students whispered about it. Good form, no spirit. Sound familiar? You've back-tested your strategy. 6 months of historical data, 73% win rate, profit factor of 2.4, maximum drawdown of 12%. On paper, you're printing money. Then you take it live, and within 2 weeks, you're down 18% with a win rate of 41%. What happened? The same thing that happened to Tishi. Your technique is flawless. Your spirit is absent. You know what to do. You cannot make yourself do it. This is the trap every systematic trader falls into. They believe that if the backtest is solid, execution will be automatic. But a backtest doesn't include the variable that matters most: you. Your strategy doesn't know that you just lost 3 trades in a row, and your amygdala is screaming at you to skip the next signal. Your backtest doesn't account for the fact that you're taking this trade with rent money because you convinced yourself this time would be different. Technical perfection means nothing when fear has the wheel. The solution isn't more backtesting. It's understanding that your strategy and your presence are 2 separate skills, and the second one matters more. You can have a mediocre strategy executed with complete presence and make money. You cannot have a perfect strategy executed with a fragmented mind and survive. Tishi learned this when he fought Kenji after 30 days of presence practice. His technique hadn't improved. His body moved the same way, but now his mind wasn't interfering. He wasn't thinking about winning or losing or impressing anyone. He was simply there, responding to what was actually happening instead of what he feared might happen. Take your next 10 trades with one rule. Before you click the button, you must be able to describe what you see on the chart without using the words I think, or should, or might. Just what is actually there. Support level. Bearish engulfing. Volume declining. The moment you catch yourself projecting into the future, you're not present. And if you're not present, you're about to lose money with perfect technique. Now let's talk about the thing that separates professionals from everyone else. And it's not what you expect. The Zen master who trained samurai warriors wrote something that sounds insane until you understand it. The mind must always be in the state of flowing, for when it stops anywhere, that is where it dies. Most traders read that and think it's about being flexible or adaptive. It's not. It's about what happens when you think you know what comes next. You've been trading for 3 years. You've seen this pattern 100 times. Descending triangle at support, volume drying up, it breaks down 90% of the time. You're not even really watching the chart anymore, because you know what happens next. Except this time it doesn't. It breaks up, stops you out, and you're sitting there confused because you knew what was coming. No, you didn't. You remembered what usually comes. That's not the same thing. The beginner trader has one advantage over you. They don't know what's supposed to happen, so they watch what actually happens. You know too much, which makes you blind. This is Shoshin, beginner's mind, and it's the hardest thing for experienced traders to recover once they lose it. The samurai who trained for 20 years had to work harder to maintain beginner's mind than the student who just picked up a sword, because the expert's mind is cluttered with patterns, expectations, and the weight of being right. Here's the practice that changes everything. Before the market opens, you write down every bias you have. You think tech is overbought. You think the Fed pivot is priced in. You think retail is about to get trapped. Write it all down, then read this sentence. The market does not care what I think. I am here to respond to what happens, not to prove what I believe will happen. If you can't say that sentence and mean it, you're not ready to trade. You're ready to be right, which is how you lose money with a smile on your face because at least your analysis was correct. If this is starting to shift how you see your own trading, do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. We're building something different here. Not hype, not motivation, just the quiet work of becoming the kind of trader who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone, including themselves. This is Trader's Bible. We don't teach you how to predict the market. We teach you how to be present for whatever it does. The master swept the floor differently than his students. Each stroke of the broom was complete, deliberate, fully inhabited. He wasn't thinking about the sword practice that would come later. He wasn't thinking about anything except the broom, the floor, the movement. When Tishi saw this, something shifted. His master was teaching him that how you do anything is how you do everything. The trader who treats their trade journal like a chore will treat their stop loss like a suggestion. The trader who rushes through their morning routine will rush into trades. Presence isn't something you turn on when money is on the line. It's something you practice in every mundane task until it becomes your default state. You think journaling is pointless because you already know what happened in the trade. You were there. Except you weren't. You were thinking about the trade before it, the trade after it, whether this one would save your week or ruin it. Your journal isn't a record of what happened. It's practice in being present with what happened, seeing it clearly without the distortion of ego or fear or hope. The traders who treat this administrative work as sacred are the ones who don't blow up their accounts, not because they have better strategies, but because they have better minds. Here's what that looks like practically. You log every trade with the same focused attention regardless of outcome. Win, loss, break even, doesn't matter. Same process, same presence. You maintain your watch lists with care. You review your rules before each session, not to memorize them, but to inhabit them. This sounds like busy work until you realize that the catastrophic trading mistakes, revenge trading, over-leveraging, abandoning your plan, all happen when your mind is shallow and undisciplined. Deep work in the mundane creates depth in the critical moments. The trader who cannot sit still for 5 minutes without checking their phone will not have the presence to sit through a 50-pip drawdown on a trade that eventually becomes a 200-pip winner. It's the same muscle. You either train it everywhere or you don't have it anywhere. How you sweep the dojo is how you execute the trade. Now here's the part that sounds contradictory until you experience it. Even with perfect presence and pristine routine, you will still feel fear when real money is moving against you. The question isn't how to eliminate that fear. It's what you do while it's screaming at you. Most trading psychology advice tells you to control your emotions. Manage your fear. Stay calm. It's terrible advice because it's based on a fundamental misunderstanding of how your brain works. You cannot control fear. You can only control what you do while afraid. The samurai understood this perfectly. They called it mushin, no mind, and it's the most misunderstood concept in warrior psychology. No mind doesn't mean having no thoughts. It means thoughts don't have you. When Tishi fought after his 30 days of presence training, fear still arose. His heart still pounded. His hands still wanted to shake. The difference was that fear became information instead of instruction. He felt it, acknowledged it, and his body moved anyway. Not despite the fear. With the fear present but not in control, here's what this looks like in your trading. You're long at $52. Your target is $54.50. Your stop is $51.20. Price drops to $51.40 and stalls. 20 cents from your stop. Fear floods your system. Your amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, starts screaming, "Get out now! Save what you can. This is going to stop you out anyway. Cut it before it gets worse." Every trader knows this moment. It's physical. Chest tight, breath shallow, hand hovering over the exit button. The amateur tries to suppress this. "I shouldn't be afraid. I calculated my risk." This is irrational. Control yourself. They're fighting their own biology, which means they're fighting two battles, the trade and themselves. They usually lose both. The professional does something different. They notice. Fear is present. Heart rate elevated. Urge to exit early. Interesting. Then they return to what's actually happening on the chart. Is price action at $51.40 showing reversal signs? Is volume confirming weakness? What does the structure actually say? This is the critical distinction. The amateur tries to eliminate fear so they can then make a decision. The professional makes the decision while fear is fully present. They're not braver. They're not more disciplined. They've trained the ability to observe their own fear without being merged with it. There's fear, and there's the awareness watching the fear. You are the awareness, not the fear. You practice this the same way Tishi did. Start small. Take a trade with your minimum position size. Risk you genuinely don't care about losing. When fear arises anyway, because it will, you practice the observation. There's fear. There's the thought that this might fail. There's the urge to exit early. You name it, you don't obey it. Then you return your attention to the chart. What is price actually doing right now? Not what might it do. What is it doing? Do this 50 times with small size and something rewires. You build what neuroscientists call metacognitive awareness, the ability to observe your own mental states without being controlled by them. The fear doesn't get smaller. Your relationship to it changes. It becomes weather passing through instead of a command you must follow. This is motion, the mind that flows. Thoughts and emotions arise and pass, but they don't stop the flow of appropriate action. The practical application changes everything about active trade management. You're in a position. Price moves against you but hasn't hit your technical invalidation point. The amateur is paralyzed by the fear of being wrong. The professional observes the fear, then asks, what does the structure say? If the structure says stay, they stay. If it says exit, they exit. The fear is irrelevant to the decision. It's present, acknowledged, and set aside while the actual analysis happens. This is why you see professional traders appear emotionless. They're not. They feel everything you feel. They've just trained the ability to act from analysis instead of emotion, even while the emotion is at full volume. It's not suppression. It's not detachment. It's presence with what is, including the discomfort, without letting the discomfort make the decision. Here's the trap though. You cannot learn this with money you can't afford to lose. If you're trading with rent money, with money that if lost would genuinely damage your life, your amygdala isn't overreacting. It's correctly identifying a real threat. You cannot train motion under genuine survival pressure. You need risk that's real enough to trigger fear, but small enough that the fear is irrational. That's the training ground. That's where you build the skill. Most traders skip this step. They jump straight to trading size that matters, before they've trained their nervous system to handle it. Then they wonder why they can execute perfectly on demo, but fall apart on live. It's not the strategy. It's that you're trying to perform brain surgery while someone's holding a gun to your head. The fear isn't the problem. The size of the fear relative to your training is the problem. Scale up slowly. Not when you're profitable, that's the wrong metric. Scale up when you can hold a losing position to your stop without your hands shaking. When you can take a full loss and your breathing stays even. When you can watch price move against you and stay present with what the chart is saying, instead of what your fear is saying. That's the signal you're ready for more size. Not because you've stopped feeling fear, because fear has stopped making your decisions. Now the market has a sense of humor. Just when you think you've figured out presence, just when you think you've trained motion, it shows you something that looks absolutely perfect. Every technical criterion met. Every confluence aligned. The setup of the month. And something in your gut says no. This is where most traders betray themselves. They've worked so hard to overcome fear-based exits that when legitimate wisdom arises, they ignore it because they think it's just more fear. During his final examination, Tishi faced this exact moment. His master created an obvious opening, a gap in the defense. Any student would attack. Tishi saw it, recognized it, and didn't take it. Not because he was afraid, because he was present enough to recognize a trap. The market does this constantly. False breakouts, liquidity grabs, perfect-looking setups designed to trap retail order flow. The young trader sees a descending triangle break, all criteria met, and enters immediately because the system says enter. The master trader sees the same break, notes that it happened on low volume at a key liquidity zone with unfilled orders above, and stays out. Not because they're smarter, because they're present enough to sense what's beneath the surface. This isn't mystical. It's pattern recognition happening below conscious awareness. Your brain processes thousands of data points per second. Most of that processing is subconscious. When you've watched enough charts, your neural networks start recognizing subtle configurations that your conscious mind can't articulate. That's the gut feeling that something's off. It's not emotion. It's compressed expertise trying to communicate through the only channel available, intuition. But here's the trap. You cannot distinguish between fear-based hesitation and wisdom-based hesitation until you've trained presence. They feel identical. Both say don't take this trade. The difference is that fear says don't take it because you might lose. Wisdom says don't take it because the context doesn't support the setup. Fear is about you. Wisdom is about the market. You learn to tell the difference through brutal honesty with yourself. When you skip a trade, you write down why. Not the story you tell yourself later, but the real reason in the moment. I didn't take it because I was afraid of another loss. That's fear. I didn't take it because volume was weak and we're at a key liquidity level. That's analysis. Do this for 100 trades and patterns emerge. You start seeing when you're lying to yourself, when fear is disguising itself as analysis. The professional trader has a filter layer in their process. Setup meets all criteria, yes or no. Context supports the setup, yes or no. Internal state is present and clear, yes or no. All three must be yes. If the setup is perfect but context is wrong, no trade. If setup and context are perfect but you're in revenge trading mode, no trade. This isn't being picky. This is wisdom knowing that some victories are defeats in disguise. The market will give you perfect-looking traps more often than perfect-looking opportunities. Your job isn't to take every setup your system generates. Your job is to take the setups where all three elements align: technical, contextual, and internal. Miss 10 good trades while avoiding 3 traps and you'll still come out ahead. Because traps don't just cost you the loss, they cost you the revenge trades that follow, the confidence erosion, the strategy abandonment. Tishi didn't take that opening because 30 days of presence training had taught him to trust the silence between thoughts. In that silence, wisdom speaks. Not loudly, not clearly, just a subtle sense that something's off. Most traders are so busy thinking they never hear it. They're running such loud mental commentary about what should happen, what they hope will happen, what they fear will happen, that the quiet voice of actual wisdom gets drowned out completely. You came here thinking you needed a better strategy, more indicators, more confluences, more rules to follow, that if you just found the right system, trading would finally click. But now you understand what the samurai discovered 400 years ago. The system isn't the problem. Your presence is. We've covered the paradox that thinking about 10 trades guarantees you'll lose the one in front of you. That your back-tested perfection means nothing when fear has control of your execution. That beginner's mind isn't about knowing less. It's about seeing clearly without the weight of expectation. We've explored how presence in mundane tasks builds the capacity for presence in critical moments. How Mushin doesn't eliminate fear, it trains you to act while fear is screaming. And how wisdom knows when the perfect setup is actually a perfect trap. The shift isn't complicated. Stop trying to control the market. Stop trying to control your emotions. Start being present with what actually is. The chart in front of you. The fear moving through you. The setup that looks perfect but feels wrong. All of it. Present, aware, responsive. The traders who survive aren't the ones with the best strategies. They're the ones who can execute a mediocre strategy with complete presence. Because presence sees what thinking misses. Presence acts when fear says freeze. Presence knows when to take the trade and when to trust the silence that says wait. You don't need more knowledge. You need more presence. Start there. Sweep the floor like it matters. Journal like it's sacred. Take the next trade like it's the only one that exists. Because it is. This is Trader's Bible. Same time, same place tomorrow. Until then, be here now.